Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into the foundations of general pharmacology today, but we're going to be doing it through a really fascinating lens, the perspective of a B-Pharm, or Bachelor of Pharmacy student. It's kind of mind-blowing to shift our perspective and see exactly how these professionals are trained to understand the very medicines that, well, keep us alive. So let's just dive right in.
Okay, I want you to start by asking yourself a pretty direct question. What do you actually see when you look at a pill? For most of us, right, the answer is pretty simple. We see a quick fix for a splitting headache, some symptom relief for a nasty cold, or maybe a way to keep our blood pressure in check. It's a means to an end. But for a trained pharmacist, oh, it requires a completely different mental contrast. They aren't just seeing symptom relief. No, they're seeing a highly complex, meticulously engineered chemical vehicle. They look at a pill and see active ingredients, excipients, and this perfectly calculated payload that's just waiting to be unleashed into the human ecosystem. Which brings us to our first core concept, the B-Pharm perspective. You see, a pharmacy student is essentially training to become the ultimate chemical translator. Think about it. Chemistry and human biology, they speak two totally different languages. Raw chemical substances are governed by things like bonds, molecular weights, and solubility, but the human body, that's governed by pulsing blood, cellular receptors, and organic tissues. So the future pharmacist learns to act as this vital translator bridging that massive gap. They literally have to figure out exactly how to speak chemistry to biology, and to do it in a way that heals rather than harms. Let's move on to defining general pharmacology. So here is the formal definition we're actually working from. General pharmacology is the fundamental study of drugs, their origins, properties, and their complex interactions with living systems. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but no, this isn't just about memorizing endless lists of complicated drug names, though let's be real, there is definitely plenty of that in pharmacy school. It's really about getting to the fundamental why behind every single medication. Like, why does it originate from a specific plant or a lab-created synthetic process? Why does it have those exact chemical properties? And absolutely most importantly, why does it interact with our living, breathing cells the way it does? Now, let's get into the scientific foundation of all this. We can essentially break the science down into two massive pillars, pharmacokinetics versus pharmacodynamics. It's actually a pretty brilliant dichotomy. On one side, pharmacokinetics is all about what the body does to the drug, and on the flip side, pharmacodynamics is what the drug does to the body. Think of it as this incredibly fascinating, microscopic biological tug-of-war. The very second you swallow a chemical, your body reacts to it, while simultaneously, that same chemical is trying to force your body to react to it. So under that first pillar, pharmacokinetics, the focus is entirely on the body's action. In pharmacy school, they use the acronym ADME for the key processes here. That stands for absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. It's basically the epic journey of the drug getting into the bloodstream, traveling all around the body, being broken down, and then eventually getting kicked out of the system altogether. Then, under the second pillar, pharmacodynamics, the focus entirely shifts to the drug's action. We're talking receptor binding and biological effects. This is where the drug acts almost like a specific key, fitting into a highly specific cellular lock to, say, lower your fever or completely stop your pain. And that perfectly sets up how chemistry meets biology. Let's look at how this dynamic journey actually plays out in real life. Step one is administration. That's just the drug entering the system, maybe swallowed with a quick glass of water. Step two is absorption. This is where it has to survive the incredibly harsh acid of the stomach and successfully cross over into the bloodstream. And finally, step three is action. It circulates until it hits its precise cellular target. By breaking it down into these three steps, those kind of dry, static pharmacological concepts suddenly turn into a highly dynamic, step-by-step biological mission, because every single medication you ever take goes on this exact same adventure. Honestly, it's just so fascinating to frame this whole thing as a precise, high-stakes chemical tug-of-war. Why? Because the human body acts like this incredibly defensive fortress. The very moment a drug is administered, your liver and kidneys immediately start trying to process, break down, and completely eliminate this foreign chemical invader. But at the exact same time, the drug is fighting tooth and nail to survive long enough in your bloodstream to actually achieve its therapeutic effect. It is a brilliant, entirely silent battle happening inside you every single time you take a medicine. This brings us to the ultimate point, the pharmacist's responsibility. All of this foundational knowledge builds what you could honestly call the B-Pharma arsenal. Because of general pharmacology, a pharmacist literally has the superpower to predict therapeutic outcomes and anticipate adverse reactions before they even happen. They know exactly where a molecule originated, which ultimately allows them to ensure absolute patient safety. It's essentially an entire toolkit designed to guarantee that this internal chemical tug of war always, always ends in the patient's favor. And it really all comes back to this one powerful idea. General pharmacology is the essential, foundational lens through which a pharmacist views the world of medicine. It completely and totally changes their perspective. It is the absolute bedrock of the pharmacy profession. Without the science, well, a pill is really just a pill. But with it, a pill becomes a predictable, manageable, and truly life-saving tool.
Which brings us to a final question for you to ponder. Now that you understand the incredibly complex biological and chemical dance happening right behind every single prescription, how will you wield the science of medicine? Whether you're actually stepping into the healthcare field yourself or honestly just organizing the medicines in your bathroom cabinet, this perspective changes everything. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time.